It's funny how sometimes a small incident can reshape your entire life, and that's precisely what unfolded for me, Emma, just a couple of weeks before my engagement celebration. At 29, I was thrilled to soon be wed to Ryan, my partner of 2 years. We had been busy organizing our party for months, and everything was falling perfectly into place. Then, out of the blue, I got a startling call from my mom telling me to cancel the engagement party. "Emma, cancel the engagement party," she demanded over the phone, making me nearly drop my phone in shock. "What? Mom, you can't be serious," I replied, struggling to keep my composure. There was no laughter on her end. She was dead serious. "Andrea just got a promotion and we're celebrating on the same day as your party," she explained. Andrea, my younger sister by 2 years, had always been the favored child in our family, but this was an outrageous request from my mom. "Mom, I've spent months planning this. I'm not going to cancel just because Andrea's being recognized at her job," I argued, trying to hold back my frustration. "Don't be selfish, Emma. It's a big day for your sister. Same guests, just a different party. Reschedule yours," my mom insisted. My anger boiled over. "No, Mom, this is the engagement we're talking about. I'm not canceling. End of story," I declared. But she kept arguing until her voice became unbearably shrill. Unable to listen any longer, I hung up. As I sat there, memories of always being second to Andrea flooded back. I remembered how my parents had completely forgotten my 18th birthday until my grandmother reminded them. They hastily put together a celebration with a store-bought cake and a gift card, which felt so insincere compared to the extravagant 3-day event they had thrown for Andrea's 15th birthday just months before. That's when Ryan came in. Seeing my troubled expression, he immediately sensed something was wrong. "Emma, what's going on?" he asked, sitting beside me. I poured out everything, the phone call, my mom's unreasonable demands, and the painful memories. He listened intently, his expression growing darker with each word I spoke. "That's ridiculous," he said firmly once I had finished. "We are not canceling anything." His support was a relief. "I just don't get why they can't prioritize me just this once," I lamented. "They're being ridiculous," Ryan replied with conviction. "But remember, I always put you first." His words brought a small smile to my face. "I know. And that's exactly why I'm marrying you, dummy," I responded, feeling a bit lighter. We spent the evening fine-tuning our plans for the party, determined to make it perfect. As I drifted to sleep, I tried to clear my mind of my family's antics, focusing instead on the joy of the upcoming celebration. But the next morning, a message from my cousin Deborah derailed everything again. She had heard a rumor that Ryan and I had split up. Confused and anxious, I quickly corrected her. "No, we're fine. Who told you that?" Deborah replied that my Aunt Susan had mentioned it, saying that my mom had announced the engagement was off and everyone should attend Andrea's promotion instead. My heart sank. I immediately called Deborah for clarity. As soon as she answered, I pressed for details. "What's going on?" I asked urgently. "I don't know, Emma. Aunt Susan called last night saying your mom told her about a huge fight between you and Ryan and that everything was called off," Deborah explained. I felt a mixture of anger and disbelief. "That's all lies, Deborah. We're still engaged and the party is still on. Mom wanted me to cancel for Andrea's event, but I refused." The conversation revealed the extent of the misunderstanding or deliberate misinformation spread by my mom. As I hung up, I realized this was just another chapter in the long history of family dynamics I had endured. But this time, I was determined not to let it derail my happiness. I refused to believe it at first, but there it was, a complete betrayal by my mother. During a pause in our conversation, Deborah finally spoke up. "Oh, crap, Emma. I'm so sorry. I had no idea." For the next hour, I sat on the phone with Deborah, trying to understand the full extent of the deceit. It turned out that my mom had actively worked to cancel my engagement party by calling every single relative on the guest list. She spun a tale of Ryan and me splitting up and redirected them to Andrea's promotion party instead. I took a deep breath, my mind racing with emotions, yet I was determined to rectify the situation. I'm going to fix this mess. Can you help spread the word that the engagement is still on? I asked Deborah. Of course, she replied instantly, ready to assist. I'll start calling people right now. After hanging up, I sat on my couch, overwhelmed by the reality of my mother sabotaging my engagement party. It seemed almost surreal. An hour later, Ryan walked in from work and immediately sensed the tension. I explained everything, the manipulative calls from my mom, the lies, and the redirection of our guests to Andrea's party. With each word, I saw Ryan's frustration grow. That's it, he declared resolutely once I finished. We're cutting them off, all of them. Your parents, Andrea, the whole bunch. His words made sense, but the thought of severing ties with my family was daunting. Let's focus on fixing this first, I suggested, not quite ready to take such a drastic step. We need to let everyone know the engagement is still on. Ryan agreed, his expression set with resolve. Okay, where do we start? We spent the rest of the night in damage control mode, sending emails, making calls, and posting updates on social media. I wrote a detailed message explaining the situation and sent it to everyone on our guest list. It was an exhausting and humiliating night, repeatedly clarifying that no, Ryan and I hadn't broken up, and yes, the engagement party was still happening. By the time we finished, it was well past midnight. My voice was hoarse from all the talking, and my eyes burned from staring at screens. We did it, Ryan said, pulling me into a comforting hug. It's going to be okay. I wanted to believe him, but doubts lingered. The betrayal had dredged up old wounds, times when I'd been overlooked and times when Andrea had been the favorite. The next day, determined to clear up any remaining confusion, I decided to visit Aunt Laura, my dad's sister who had always been kind to me. I planned to invite her to the engagement party personally. As I approached her house, I overheard voices from the living room. I paused, about to announce my arrival, when I caught a snippet of conversation that stopped me cold. I can't believe Emma would do such a thing, canceling her engagement party to spite her sister. So childish, Aunt Laura remarked. My heart sank at the new lie being circulated by my family. Just as I was about to confront them, another voice joined in. I know, right? Poor Andrea must be crushed after all that hard work to get promoted, and now Emma is trying to steal her thunder. It was my cousin Mary. Shocked to hear her joining in on the gossip, I stepped into the room, unable to hold back any longer. Is that what you think of me? I challenged. Both women jumped, startled. Aunt Laura was the first to recover, plastering on a fake smile. Emma, sweetie. But I wasn't there for pleasantries. I needed to set the record straight. I hadn't made a sound entering the house, but the tension was already palpable. I came to invite you to my engagement party, but it seems like you've already formed your opinions about me, I said, my voice betraying the chill of my disappointment. Mary, at least, appeared genuinely remorseful. Emma, we didn't mean to, she began, but I cut her off abruptly. Save it. I need to know what exactly Mom has been telling everyone, I demanded firmly. Over the next hour, Aunt Laura and Mary unfolded the elaborate tale my mother had concocted. According to her story, I had thrown a tantrum upon hearing of Andrea's promotion, demanding she postpone her celebration. When Andrea refused, I supposedly canceled my engagement party in a fit of spite, declaring I'd rather remain unmarried than share the limelight. This was yet another fabricated story cooked up by my family. By the time they finished, I was seething with anger. None of that is true, I asserted, my voice shaky with emotion. Mom called and demanded that I cancel my engagement party for Andrea's promotion. I refused, and now she's trying to ruin my reputation by spreading lies. I then shared the truth with them, how I had been sidelined on my birthdays, the endless comparisons, and the years of feeling inadequate. By the time I finished, both women were in tears. Oh, Emma, Aunt Laura said, her voice softening as she reached for my hand. We had no idea. We should have known better than to believe such outlandish stories. Taking a deep breath, I tried to steady my nerves. I appreciate your apologies, but right now I need your help. The engagement party is still on, and we need to set the record straight. Can you help spread the word? They both nodded eagerly, relieved to have a chance to amend their mistake. As I left Aunt Laura's house, my emotions were a whirlwind of anger, hurt, and a faint glimmer of hope. Despite everything, part of the truth was now out there. The day of the engagement party arrived, and I was a bundle of nerves. Ryan and I approached the venue, hesitating at the doors, unsure of what awaited us inside. To our amazement, the room was bustling with life. Smiling faces turned our way, and a wave of warmth washed over me. The hall was packed, not just with the relatives we had reconnected with, but also with faces I hadn't seen in years. "I can't believe you all came," I managed to say, my voice thick with emotion. Uncle Samuel, my dad's brother, approached and gave Ryan a hearty slap on the back. "Of course we came. Did you think we'd miss this? Those rumors about your canceled engagement sure did spread like wildfire, but looks like they backfired big time." I laughed, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "Guess they did," I agreed. As Ryan and I mingled through the crowd, receiving congratulations and well wishes, I noticed the conspicuous absence of my mom, dad, and Andrea. No texts, no emails, not even a reluctant congratulations. Surprisingly, their absence felt more like a relief than a disappointment. Instead, I found myself drawn to Ryan's parents, who were beaming at us with genuine pride and affection. "We're so proud of you, Emma. You're already part of our family," Ryan's mom whispered as she hugged me tightly. The party was in full swing when suddenly a commotion near the dance floor caught everyone's attention. There was my 75-year-old grandma, right in the center, showcasing what she called the incendiary dance of her youth. "Come on, you youngsters," she called out, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "Let me show you how we used to cut a rug back in my day." The crowd erupted in cheers as Grandma twirled and swayed, moving with surprising agility for her age. Soon others joined her on the dance floor, drawn by her infectious energy and the reminder of the resilience and joy that still thrived in our family despite the challenges. As the dance floor came alive with an electrifying multi-generational showdown, I mingled among the guests, catching snippets of conversation about the family drama that had unfolded. "Can you believe what Emma's mother tried to pull?" I overheard my cousin Mary say to another relative. "Trying to cancel her own daughter's engagement party for her other daughter's work event? It's insane." "I know," the other voice replied. "Poor Emma has always been treated unfairly by her family. It's great to see her taking a stand for once." Rather than feeling embarrassed or upset by these conversations, I felt a sense of validation. For the first time, my relatives were seeing the true dynamics of my family, and they were supportive of me. As the evening progressed, I felt a genuine happiness that had eluded me for years. The absence of my immediate family, which had initially worried me, now seemed like a blessing, lifting a tremendous weight off my shoulders. The day after our unforgettable engagement party, Ryan and I relaxed on the couch, replaying the joyous moments from the night before. My phone rang, and a knot formed in my stomach when I saw it was my mom calling. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello, you ungrateful, nasty girl." My mom's voice screeched through the speaker. I pulled the phone away from my ear, her tirade still audible. Ryan gave me a worried look, but I signaled that I'd handle it. "Mom, what are you— Don't you mom me!" She cut me off. "You've humiliated your sister. Only 3 people showed up to her party, just those nosy old aunts who'd attend the opening of an envelope." I took a deep breath, striving to remain calm. "Mom, I'm sorry you're disappointed, but Andrea knew her promotion party was scheduled for the same day as my long-planned engagement party." "That's no excuse, Emma. Family comes first, but clearly you wouldn't understand that," she retorted, and before I could reply, she hung up. Moments later, my phone buzzed with a text from Andrea. "Hope you're happy. You've ruined everything. I'll make you pay for this humiliation." I showed Ryan the message and he frowned. "She can't be serious," he said. The following 3 weeks passed quietly, and I began to hope that perhaps the storm had blown over. However, one afternoon, a surprise knock at the door revealed Ryan's parents, both looking concerned. "Mr. and Mrs. Amanda, what a surprise. Is everything okay? I asked, ushering them into the living room. Once seated, Mr. Ethan cleared his throat. Emma, we've heard some troubling rumors. There's talk that you've been cheating on Ryan. I felt as if I had been slapped. What? That's ridiculous. I would never. We know, dear, Mrs. Amanda interjected gently. We've known you for years. We don't believe it for a second. Relief washed over me, quickly followed by anger as I realized the likely source of these rumors. It's my sister, I said, my voice quivering slightly. She threatened to retaliate for the so-called ruination of her promotion party. She must be spreading these lies. Mr. Ethan nodded grimly, understanding the gravity of the situation. As we talked it through, I felt the full support of Ryan's family, bolstering my resolve to not let my sister's vindictive actions disrupt our lives any further. When Ryan's parents left, after promising to help quash any rumors they encountered, I was flooded with a mix of emotions. I was deeply touched by Amanda's unwavering support and trust in me, but I was also infuriated by Andrea's actions. How could she stoop so low? A few days later, the tension only compounded when I received a call from Grandma. Her voice, usually bright and comforting, carried a note of concern this time. Emma, sweetie, she began, I've heard about the mess with your parents and Andrea. Don't you think it's time to bury the hatchet? I sighed, feeling the weight of her expectations pressing down on me. Grandma, it's not that simple. They've hurt me. I know, honey, but they're family. Surely there's a way to patch things up. Her plea tugged at my heartstrings. Grandma had always been a pillar of strength for me, even when the rest of my family had let me down. I hated the thought of letting her down in return. What do you think I should do? I asked, my voice laden with reluctance. Why don't you try reaching out? Make a peace offering. Show them you're willing to mend fences, she suggested. I closed my eyes, torn between my love for Grandma and my need to protect myself from further hurt. After a long moment, I agreed. Okay, Grandma, I'll try. For you. That evening, I found myself standing on my parents' doorstep, my heart pounding with a mix of hope and dread. The moment I stepped inside, I knew this reconciliation attempt was doomed. Andrea was there, her expression stormy. So you think you can just waltz in here and throw me a pity party? She spat. That's not what I began, but she cut me off. I don't need your handouts, Emma. Do you think that makes up for what you did? I should have had my party on your day. Then people would have shown up. I was taken aback by the venom in her voice. Andrea, I'm trying to make things right, I said, my voice calm but firm. Make things right? She screeched. You ruined everything. As usual, it's all about you. I looked to my parents, hoping for some semblance of support, but they merely nodded in agreement with Andrea. She's right, Emma, Mom said. You've always been so selfish. Something inside me snapped. Without a word, I turned and walked out, their calls fading behind me. I visited Grandma again soon after. She greeted me with a hopeful smile. How did it go, dear? Instead of answering verbally, I pulled out my phone. I recorded the conversation, Grandma. I think you need to hear this. Her eyes widened in surprise, but she nodded. I pressed play, and Andrea's furious accusations filled the room. As the recording played, I watched Grandma's expression shift from hope to shock, then to deep disappointment. When it finished, there was a heavy silence. Then, to my surprise, Grandma reached out and took my hand. Oh, Emma, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I'm so sorry. I had no idea it was this bad. I owe you an apology. I shouldn't have pushed you to reconcile. Tears welled up in my eyes. It's okay, Grandma. You didn't know. She shook her head. No, it's not okay. I should have believed you from the start. I just wanted so badly for our family to be whole. We sat in silence for a while, both processing the painful revelation. Finally, Grandma spoke again. Emma, dear, I want you to know something. Family isn't just about blood. It's about love, respect, and support. And from what I've seen and heard, Ryan and his family give you that. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for choosing your happiness. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing incessantly. It was a barrage of angry texts from my parents, furious about the recording being revealed. "How dare you record our private conversations?" Mom's message screamed. As I read through the messages, I realized Grandma must have confronted them about their behavior. While the backlash was intense, I felt a newfound strength, supported by the real love and respect I received from those who truly mattered. Dad's message was no better. "You sneaky, ungrateful snitch," he had written. "I can't believe you'd stoop so low as to secretly record us and then play it for your grandmother. You betrayed this family for the last time." It felt like a punch to the gut. Even when faced with proof of their hurtful behavior, they managed to turn everything around and make me the villain. This latest betrayal was the last straw. I was done with my toxic family. In the weeks that followed, I tried to keep my focus on work and my life with Ryan, but Andrea seemed determined to make my life miserable. Her vindictiveness escalated into a full-blown harassment campaign against me. It started subtly. I noticed colleagues at work would suddenly go silent when I entered a room, only to start whispering again as soon as I left. I soon learned that Andrea was spreading nasty rumors about me, calling me incompetent and telling outright lies about my personal life. Then came the anonymous messages on social media. Hateful comments began popping up on my posts, each one nastier than the last. I couldn't prove it was Andrea behind them, but the tone and content left little doubt in my mind. Andrea's cruelty hit a new low when she attempted to contact Ryan one evening. He came home looking troubled and said, "Emma, I got a weird call today. It was Andrea. She tried to tell me you were cheating on me." My heart dropped. "What? Ryan, you know that's not true?" He quickly reassured me. "Of course I know that. I shut her down right away. But Emma, this is getting out of hand." I nodded, feeling a mix of anger and exhaustion. "I know. I just don't know how to make it stop." As it turned out, I didn't have to do anything. Andrea's obsession with revenge began to backfire on her. Her work performance started to decline as she spent more and more time plotting against me. Her colleagues noticed her strange behavior, the constant whispering, the long stretches spent on her phone instead of working. It wasn't long before her bosses took notice, and I heard through the office grapevine that Andrea had received an official warning for her declining performance. Even that warning didn't seem to deter her. Then, about a month into her harassment campaign, the news broke. Andrea had been demoted. The irony was not lost on anyone. The very promotion she had been so eager to celebrate, the one that had kicked off this whole ugly mess, was now gone. After the Andrea drama subsided, I threw myself into wedding planning like it was a full-time job. We finally settled on a stunning outdoor venue, a picture-perfect garden that felt like a fairy tale. There was a charming little gazebo where we would exchange our vows. As we stood there imagining our big day, Ryan squeezed my hand and asked softly, "Are you happy?" I looked up at him, feeling all warm and fuzzy inside. "Happier than I've ever been," I replied, and I truly meant it. With the venue secured, we moved on to selecting our wedding party. I asked my ride-or-die friends, the ones who had stood by me through all the craziness, to be my bridesmaids. They all said yes, which filled me with joy. Then came the task of creating the invite list. I sat at our dining table addressing envelopes to all the relatives and friends who had supported us during those chaotic months. As I wrote each name, I felt an overwhelming wave of gratitude for these amazing people who had shown me what real family was all about. It was heartwarming to reflect on how much love and support I had around me, and it made me excited for the future. As I reached the end of my list, I suddenly stopped. 3 names remained unfilled: Mom, Dad, and Andrea. I stared at the empty spaces, a whirlwind of emotions swirling within me. Just then, Ryan found me lost in thought, his hand gently resting on my shoulder. "You okay?" he asked, concern etched on his face. I looked up at him, tears welling in my eyes. "I don't think I can invite them, Ryan, after everything that's happened," I confessed. He nodded, understanding my turmoil. "It's your decision, Emma. Whatever you choose, I'm here for you." Taking a deep breath, I firmly set down the pen. "No," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "They don't deserve to be there. This day is about celebrating love and support, and they haven't shown me any of that." As I voiced my thoughts, I felt a huge burden lift off my shoulders. It was bittersweet to realize that cutting ties with my toxic family was the right choice for my future. Sure, there was sadness, but it was overshadowed by an overwhelming sense of relief. The weeks sped by, and soon our wedding day arrived. Standing in front of the mirror in my bridal suite, adjusting my veil, I was filled with a calmness I hadn't felt in years. As I walked down the aisle toward Ryan, I noticed the faces of those who had stood by us through thick and thin. Ryan's parents radiating pride, my grandma wiping her eyes with a handkerchief, and friends and relatives who had chosen to support us despite all the family drama. These were my people, those who had shown me what real love and support meant. When I reached Ryan, he took my hands in his eyes sparkling with love. As we exchanged our vows, I felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. This was right. This was where I was meant to be. At the reception, laughter and joy surrounded us, and I had a significant realization. My engagement party months earlier wasn't just about celebrating our upcoming marriage. It marked the beginning of my new life, a life where I no longer felt like an outsider, but was the architect of my happiness. As Ryan and I swayed to our first dance as husband and wife, I rested my head on his shoulder, feeling a profound sense of peace. The journey had been tough, yes, but it had brought me to a place of strength, wisdom, and true happiness. "I love you," Ryan whispered in my ear. "I love you too," I replied, my heart swelling. At that moment, I knew we could face anything together. For the first time in my life, I was excited about the future rather than scared of it. This was my fresh start, and I was ready to embrace it wholeheartedly.